Hello, everybody. Streets and Eats here, and it's episode 113.
Woohoo!
And today we're in England, and we are in London, specifically, that beautiful, diverse city that never fails to amaze me when I visit. And we are going to do our top 5 places to visit, things to do, whatever, in London.
I'm going to tell you, it was not easy. I
No.
had to try and think outside the box. There's hundreds of things to do there.
Thousands. Hundreds,
I
thousands.
think if we lived there for a year, we would probably still at the end of it go, oh, we didn't get this done. We didn't get this done. So
Yeah.
there's plenty to do.
Okay, so you have the trivia question.
I do have the
And
trivia
you always
question.
stump me with your trivia questions. I'm hoping you came up with something that I have a chance of getting right.
You don't.
I don't think so.
I actually have 2 questions. I think these are both very good questions. So I'm going to ask you 2 questions.
Okay.
But they're pretty easy. I mean, they're not like, there's not tons of explanation that needs
Okay,
to
go ahead.
Okay, so the very first one is iconic. Big Ben.
Sure.
What is it?
It's a clock tower. Is that where on QI they'd be like, ah?
That's exactly what would happen. That is not the right answer.
It's not a clock tower.
No.
I mean, there's clocks on it.
What? There are clocks on it. That's true. But the tower's name isn't Big Ben. What is it?
The tower's name is not Big Ben?
No.
Just the clock is Big Ben?
No. Not even the clock.
Well, it's at Westminster.
Abbey.
No, it's at Parliament. It's not
Yeah,
Westminster Abbey.
The answer's still no.
It's at Parliament.
It's a good question, isn't it?
It's a really good question. I thought it was just Big Ben, the clock tower.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's what's so funny about it because, okay, so you look at it and you're like, there's Big Ben.
Oh,
But
and by the
actually-
way, the scaffolding is gone. It's been restored. It's beautiful.
It's gorgeous.
Especially in the sunset. Oh, amazing. Okay, what is it really?
When you look at the tower, you see the tower and you see the clock. So that's why we think it's the tower or it's the clock.
Is it a gate tower?
Both of those are wrong. The tower's name is Elizabeth Tower, and the clock it's a clock tower. So yeah, it is, but it's not called Big Ben. It's called Elizabeth Tower. Big Ben is actually the 13 massive bells that are inside. That's what Big Ben is. The sound of the bells.
I was going to say something about bells.
Yeah.
Like it's a bell tower more than a clock tower.
And that would have been, I would have given it to you. But you didn't say it, so I
thought
stumped
it.
you again. All right. This one is probably harder.
Well, that was a good question, so that's
It was a good question.
And maybe we schooled some people.
Yeah. So this is the next question. It's harder. Norway sends London a Christmas gift every year since 1947 because they were allies during the war.
Okay.
And so what is it? And where can you see it?
Well, it would have to be maybe some sort of fish related thing.
Norway.
Pickled
I do
herring.
think of fish.
A case of pickled herring.
And who's going to eat this case of pickled herring?
20,000 cases of pickled herring.
The answer is no.
No. So it's something that the country of Norway
The country of Norway.
sends to the city of London
Genau. Yes.
as a Christmas present
Yeah.
every year. Maybe a commemorative plate that's hanging up in Buckingham Palace.
I'm sure that's what they want. One more commemorative plate.
Well, I mean, what
It's
do they want?
Christmas.
Okay, a Christmas tree.
A Christmas tree is the correct
And it
answer.
is in
An iconic place.
front of Buckingham
No.
Palace. Piccadilly Circus.
No.
This could go on all day.
Good. Trafalgar Square.
Trafalgar Square.
Yeah. Isn't that cool?
How big is it? How tall
I
is
don't
it?
know. I don't
How
know.
many lights
I don't
are
know,
on it?
and I don't care.
How many
The
bulbs?
point is, isn't it fun?
Come on, I'm going to trivia you back.
Yeah, you can. That's
Except
not,
I don't
that's
know
not
the
the way this
answers.
goes anyway.
Either.
But isn't that a neat fact that
That
since
is a pretty cool
1947, they provide a Christmas tree every year?
That's pretty
I think
amazing.
that's a pretty cool thing.
I like
So
it.
anyway, I had 2 because I enjoyed both of them. And that's what trivia is all about. Enjoyment.
Well, I now
And
know
stumping
that
your husband.
Elizabeth Tower holds Big Ben bells.
You didn't know?
I do now.
Yes, exactly. All right.
Okay, so this is a top 5. And in our top 5s, as hopefully our listeners know by now,
Right.
I picked my own top 5 without you knowing them.
And
you
I've
picked
done the
your
same.
own. And we will talk about
Battle
them.
it out.
And then battle it out and decide on a final that we both agree on. Top 5 places, things to do in London.
Now, here's the problem. We have not done everything in London. Because you cannot do everything in London. I don't even think if you live there, you do everything in London. So I think, though, we've probably, over the years, done most of...
Yeah, a lot of what most travelers are going to want to do in London, and a lot of stuff that maybe a lot of people didn't think about.
So anyway, so that's where we're coming from. But we are going to put that disclaimer out there already that we have not done everything there is to do in London. Of course. And thus, that's why
but we have been there
back
several times, like I said, over the years. And yeah, I think that, like you said, I had a hard time coming up with 5 because we've done so much in London.
Right. And it's all fantastic. Just because we might mention our favorites doesn't mean it disparages anything else.
Yeah, of course.
Because it's really just degrees of
and
separation.
Things that are our favorites may have been our favorites because of something that happened on that particular trip or on that visit that just put it over the top as far as a cool thing to do. That if we had gone on another day and that hadn't happened, it would have just been like, oh, okay, well, that's cool. Let's go on. What's next?
Okay. So I think if I remember correctly, a couple of weeks ago when we did England, you got to go first.
Yeah. So it's your turn to go first.
Okay. So my number 5, I have to find it. Okay. This is such a cheat. It's such a cheat. Is the history in general.
The history of London in general. Well, you got to come up with someplace where you can experience the history.
I do have. But, how can you pick between Westminster, Parliament, the palaces and the castles, all that kind of stuff. So all the historical sites. One of them that sticks out in my head that you may not remember doing, this is quite a few years ago that we did this, is Churchill's War Rooms.
Oh, yeah. Well, they made my list.
They made your list?
As an individual thing.
Well,
which we're supposed to do.
Well, it's because I can't do it. Anyway, Churchill's War Rooms. First of all, I'm a huge Churchill fan.
Yeah.
Second of all, I'm a huge World War II
me too.
buff. So, I mean, everything about it just speaks to me. And I remember we bought the tickets online before we went there, and it was a blazing hot August day.
It's always hot in August when we go to London.
It seems to always be hot in August. We did have a couple of cool days this time around,
but
normally we just swelter the whole time. And this was a sweltering day, and the line to the war rooms was
so long.
I can't even tell you how long. It was at least 50
if ever
feet
there was
long.
a time to have
tickets,
pre-ordered tickets, pre-bought tickets.
This was the one.
There's
no shade. They were miserable, and they saw us just walk right up to the desk, glaring at us the whole way.
That's the point. If I'm the person in that long line where I say,
let me
where's
look
my
online
phone
and see if I can
still buy tickets for this time.
Exactly.
And sometimes you can.
And sometimes you can. So it's worth thinking about even at that late stage.
But the war rooms themselves did such an excellent job of presenting World War II, wartime London, as well as, of course, the Winston Churchill aspect of it. For me.
Which number was that?
I had those up at, find my list here, number 3.
Number 3. He's always much more generous with his things than I am in mine.
Well, to me, like you said, you're going to go to London. You really want to find those things that give you the history of London. And for World War II, wartime London, that's the place to go.
It was so much fun.
For sure.
I really enjoyed it. And it was cool because it's, it's underground.
Yeah.
It's really neat. So obviously we agree. Go to Churchill War.
So that will probably stay on the list.
Okay. What was your next thing?
So, okay. My number 5 is kind of a cheat as well.
See?
But it's not nearly as bad a cheat as history of London. Mine is much more specific. It's pubs and shows in London.
How could you combine those two?
Well,
that's too much of a
I'm going
cheat.
to. No, because think about it. You go to a show, afterwards you go to the pub.
No, you go to a
You
history
go to a
museum.
pub,
You go to the
pub.
show. You go to
Okay,
the zoo.
my
then
point
you go to the pub.
is-
No.
My point is-
I'm calling a nixay on that. You cannot. No. First of all, I have both of those on my list.
Wait,
separately.
I remember a couple weeks ago.
Separately.
You
So
have
they're
both
separate.
of those separate. See, I couldn't devote 2 spots to something that's kind of vague. And because they're both kind of vague, I thought they kind of go together. You can't go to London without going to a show.
Well, you can actually. Many people do.
You shouldn't.
But
And I
we
couldn't
have never gone to London without going
No.
to a show.
and I couldn't come up with a specific show because all the shows I've seen in London have been great. And people have different tastes, different interests, and what might be a good show for me would not necessarily be a good show for
But you
everybody.
want to hear an
But
interesting
everybody's
fact?
going to find a good show.
The longest running show in the West End is the longest running show, period. And it is Agatha Christie's The Mousetrap.
The Mousetrap?
Yeah.
I didn't know
So
that.
if you're at a loss of what to go to the
The
Mousetrap. But we haven't seen that one. So.
No.
I mean, we
We've
have
done a
seen
few
it
shows.
in the
This-
past, but not on the West End. But we have gone to many shows on the West End. And one time we went to see our favorite comedian, Miranda Hart, when she was starring, or not really starring, I guess. She had
was
a role
in Annie.
Annie. We saw Hamilton there. We've seen, we just
Cursed
went to
Child.
Spirited Away. And
Spirited Away.
Spirited Away
So
and Cursed Child.
we've done
yeah.
a few for sure.
And those are the ones that we're just thinking of the top of our heads.
And one of the reasons why I say
Oh, and my very first one I went to was years and years ago when the kids were in middle school. And we went to the cheap tickets and we're like, yeah, what are
do
we
you
going to
got?
see? So we went to see Fame.
so
So that was
cool.
that was pretty cool.
I was not on that trip.
No, you were
I
not on
didn't
that
get to
trip.
see it. Anyway, what I was going to say about the shows is, yeah, you get to go to a play and the shows are usually a great show, but you get to go to the theater, and the theaters
Are
are
fabulous. Yeah,
part of the history of London.
absolutely.
And
And you
that's
get
one
to-
of those number 5 history places
no.
that you can go to.
And
Um,
you get to eat ice cream because they
you
always have
always get
ice
ice
cream for
cream.
the intermission.
Yeah. But they're just cool places to go. If I could just do tours of the theaters in London, I might even do that. But I'd much rather go into a theater to see a show. And I think we've been in a different theater for every show
time.
we've seen.
Probably.
I'm fairly certain.
There's a lot of theaters.
Cursed Child is still playing in the same theater. Hamilton is still playing in the same theater. So those theaters are taken. Yeah.
And we just went to the London
and,
Coliseum.
okay. And pubs.
I'm sorry, they're two
London
different
pubs
things.
are iconic. Now, could I give you a specific pub to go to? Not really. Just whatever pub is nearby. That's like an old British London pub.
There are tours of pubs
There are
Which
pub
we've
tours
never taken.
for sure.
because we just like experiencing them on our own.
Yeah. And just pop in around 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock at night. About that time, usually a good pub is spilling out onto the street
Yeah.
with Londoners having a pint before they go home, or a drink
Mhm.
before they go home, or 2, or maybe before they start their night out.
Do you remember the pub that we were just walked by the other day? What the name of it was, which is the oldest pub in Coventry?
Ooh, I don't remember.
We'll have to put that in the show notes, but we've definitely been there, and we definitely had to do the whole drink your beer on the side of the street thing because
Yeah.
there's not a whole lot of seats, but it is the oldest pub in that area, so it's kind of one that is maybe a must see. But there's tons of them, and they're all different types. You can get cask ales at them. You can usually eat at them. Almost always eat at
Some
them.
kind of pub food.
Outside, they're
Snacks.
just usually gorgeous with like beautiful flowers in the flower boxes, and whether it's half
Gorgeous
timbered
painting.
or brick, and they always have great names. Like
The-
what was
and-
the one we just went to? The
Mm.
something in the nail,
Oh, yeah. The Hammer and the Nail.
the hammer in the nail.
And they have really cool signs hanging out front.
Yeah, the pub life is.
You have to go to a pub. You should go to a show. So I put pubs and shows as number 5, and
No.
I'm sticking with it.
No,
You put
it doesn't count. No.
farm shops
Doesn't
and
count.
garden
Okay, so
centers
I'm
together.
skipping up to because that was my to see show. Okay, I'm going to my number 4.
Okay.
And this is kind of a
Wait,
little.
you said you had pubs and shows on your list.
I did. I haven't got to pubs yet. So, or shows either. So my number 4 was all the Harry Potter sites and things to do. Like when you go to King's Cross
King's
Station,
Cross Station.
you can push the cart. I would even say that Watson, where you go to the studio tour, is somewhat within London. It is a train ride. Yeah. It's not really in London, but it's also not really not in London.
Definitely be done on a trip to London.
So I think I included that. And I mean, who doesn't want to see her? And we went to, like you said, the Cursed Child. There's tons of things to do Harry Potter wise. And I mean, who doesn't?
A simple
love
search
that?
will give you a few things to do for sure.
Yeah. So I put that on there because it's fun.
Okay.
So that was number 4. And then number 3 was my shows. And actually, I put pubs and eating out as number 1.
Oh, geez.
Because, I mean, what's important to Corky? Yeah.
Number 4 for me is the British Museum.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It's an amazing museum. Again, we talked about the Pitt River Museum as being the place that collected all those like cultural artifacts from around the world, like shrunken heads from Micronesia, spear points from Africa, masks from Africa,
Just
all that really cool stuff. That's not in London, but the British Museum is, and
it's free,
and it's free, and it's the same idea where these British explorers around the world were collecting things and bringing them back.
Yeah,
but this is the big stuff.
Yeah,
this is the
mummies,
Rosetta Stone, the mummies from Egypt.
Yeah.
Whole temple faces from Turkey.
Amazing.
That you're like,
stuff.
Why isn't this stuff still in the countries where it belongs? But the fact that it's in the British Museum means that it is in one place where you can go to see it, and it's been protected. And I mean, you can definitely
There's 2 sides
make arguments to whether they should have it there or not. But they do, and you can go, and yeah, it's my number 4 place.
See, that goes with my Churchill War Museum.
So,
war rooms.
History. No.
History.
Number 3 was the Churchill War Rooms for me. Number 2, I'm sure you would put with your history.
No. Oh, for your number 2?
Yes. My number 2 is the Tower of London.
Oh my God. I love the Tower of London.
Amazing history.
I love the ravens.
Beautiful story, beautiful architecture, incredible stories. Like every corner of it has a story to tell.
Actually, the tower, I was like trying to fit it on there. I was trying to fit the tower on there. I was trying to fit
British
so you just Museum on there.
So
that's why I put it all in one lump sum.
That doesn't work, honey.
It worked. It worked for me.
All right. What's your number 2?
My number 2, maybe my number 2 is just really cool. And you're not going to have this on yours. It's ride the bus. Ride the double-decker bus. And especially ride like the 178 that goes across the Tower Bridge.
Mm-hmm.
The cool thing about London, well, first of all, you're riding a double-decker bus. End of
Get on the top. Get in the front.
Make your way to the front thing and just ride it. And especially get on those ones that go by these iconic places. The Millennium
St.
Dome,
Paul's Cathedral,
the Tate Museum, Buckingham Palace. I mean, you
Westminster
can sit. You don't
Abbey,
need to take a hop-on, hop-off bus.
No, you don't.
And you know what's fun about the local buses? Everything. It's just fun. It's fun to get on them. It's fun to tap in. It's fun to be on a double-decker bus. And look, Lego even has a little double-decker bus that you can make. And the kids love it. It's perfect. It's fun. You get to see everything. I just...
Ride the bus.
For me, riding the buses...
It was like, not...
We did a lot of that. We have so much fun doing that.
It was not on my list, but I thought of putting it on my list. For sure, but I didn't
because you didn't fit
because
you did everything individually with all the good stuff.
Yeah, I didn't lump all the history stuff as one history of London,
I cheated.
which doesn't work.
It did
by
work.
the way.
It counts. I don't think we're gonna be able to come down to 5 things, you guys.
No,
it's
I don't
not
think
gonna
so.
happen.
But
anyway, my
I agree.
number 1 is eating. And so that's where my pubs comes in, because eating in London is spectacular. First of all, and we talked about this a little bit in previous episodes, London is one of the most diverse cities on this earth.
Yeah, you can get any food.
You can get any kind of food. You can get like Ethiopian food, and you can get halal food,
Venezuelan.
and you can get Venezuelan and Argentinian and
of course
American
Indian, British,
and Of
German,
course, the whole British fare. I mean, you can
French,
get anything you want. We had
Sri Lankan.
great Vietnamese food and just all kinds of food. All kinds of food. So you can get ethnic foods, which are amazing, or you can get amazing British food.
Yeah.
Gastropubs and really high-end English restaurants that have such good, like we've been to a
Really
couple of
amazing
Gordon
food.
Ramsay restaurants. We've been to lots of gastropubs.
The Jugged Hare was my favorite gastropub.
Yeah,
They had some
too.
excellent food.
Excellent food.
Good Sunday
I
roast.
think we went there for Sunday roast.
Yeah.
They had a fantastic Scotch egg.
Mm.
Oh, so good. I mean, eating in London is amazing. Plus, then you've got the high tea, you've got Sunday roast, you've got chippies, you've got fish and chips,
Carveries.
you've
Just
got
pubs and pub food in general.
yeah. So that whole eating culture in England, I think, is amazing.
Mm.
And so that was my number one.
Well,
'cause-
pubs and shows were my number 5. So there. Number 1 for me, I'm kind of surprised this wasn't on your list, was the Postal Museum.
I
and
didn't
the
put it on my
Rail
list because I
Mail.
knew he was going to put it on his list.
Okay.
I honestly,
That's a reason
That
to
was-
keep it off.
that was the one reason I didn't put it on there.
Was because it was like,
I knew it was going to be on yours.
so what is the Postal Museum?
Well, the Postal Museum is exactly what it says it is. It is the museum that showcases everything to do with the British Post. And specifically in London, something that I didn't know and that a lot of people probably don't know is that they moved mail around London in an underground train system. And one of the things you can do at this museum is go for a ride on that train. And that is
Or a replica
super
of the train.
cool. No, it's one of the trains, but yeah, it's been kind of updated
Updated.
so you could ride in it because we're not pieces of mail. So yeah, you get to experience that. And the museum itself, I thought, just again, full of stories, full of excellent artifacts, telling the whole history of the post.
Such a good place for kids. It has a whole kids area where you have to sign up for it and pay £4 or something, but it has where they get to make a letter, have a parcel, mail the parcel, sort the parcel, put the parcel up and down.
Got
The
a great kids playroom.
Loved it.
Yeah.
They also had a scavenger hunt. We did a scavenger hunt while we were there with AJ. Everything about the Postal Museum was surprising and amazing.
We
and
had
fun.
smiles on our faces, like from
The
the
whole
minute
time.
we walked in to the minute we walked out.
Yeah. And we were there, I would say at least 3 hours.
Yeah.
We were there a long time. It was really fantastic. And
Which is a long
something
time
that
for us in a museum.
it really is. And something that you would just never think about. And I don't think that there's tons of people that maybe know about it. Did you know, fun fact, that Britain, England, was the very first country to have stamps?
I did not know
For
that.
all those
I
stamp
know they have
collectors.
an amazing stamp history.
Absolutely.
But I
they
did
were
not know they were the
they're
first ones to
basically,
start.
They invented stamps.
That's amazing. I did not know that.
Isn't that cool?
And I just went to the Post Museum.
Well, there you go. Hand in hand.
I should have known it.
Yeah. Okay. So
Okay, we got to hammer this out.
how are we going to do this?
Number 5.
I almost give up because there's just no way you can narrow it down to 5. I think you have to lump them.
I think you have to
Lump them.
no, you have to
Lump
come up
them.
with your actual, like,
Okay. Did I love
Westminster Abbey is super cool, but is it better than the British Museum?
No, because it costs money.
Yeah, I agree.
But it's still amazing,
still super
and
cool.
everybody should go there. I mean, and that doesn't take away from it. It's just that the only reason I would put it higher on my list is because British Museum is, what did I say? Free.
And it's amazingly cool.
And you know what's good about going to the museums and things is it rains a little bit in Great
Yeah,
Britain.
it's good to have an indoor location.
It's definitely a good idea.
or it's super hot and you want air conditioning.
Or it's super hot. It's a good idea to have alternate activities.
So if you're giving up on
I'm not giving up on
ordering,
anything.
then I'm going to go with mine, and we're going
No.
to say
Oh no. You can
pubs
I'm
and
sorry.
shows.
Pubs and shows don't go together. I think we can take shows off of there actually.
Yeah, okay.
Because as much as I think people should go to them, I don't think it should be on there. I think riding the bus is a must. I think pubs is a must. Pubs and food in general. I think
Church of War Rooms we both had.
I think the Tower of London, Churchill War Rooms, and the British Museum are maybe my top 3 sites to see, period.
Yeah.
But I've got to, I mean, I don't know how you can fit it in there without
what would you
listing it.
give up?
And I don't want to give up Harry Potter because that's new and that's important and kids love that and people love that and I've loved Harry Potter for over 20 years, so it's not like it's not that new.
There's nothing new about it.
I love Harry Potter. You know what's not on my list? I can tell you what is not on my list in London: the changing of the guard.
Oh,
Done
yeah.
it, been there, done that, hated
No,
it.
if there was a way to do it without the 400,000 other people,
Sure, that'd be great.
But
well,
then-
there is, because there were people inside watching it.
Yeah.
I think they paid about £500 a person,
even
probably.
still, I don't know. Yeah.
Well, it's not worth it to me.
Yeah, no way.
Yeah, if you're gonna skip any of the iconic things to do in London, skip that one.
And if you have to go,
It's just frustrating.
get there really, really early and go sit up on the steps
Of
on the memorial
memorial.
across the street from the main gate and just sit there and just watch the people. I
take
mean,
a
there is
picnic
some
or something.
amazing people watching there and just watching the whole spectacle, not of the changing of the guard itself, but the whole spectacle of all of the people and the management of the people
Ugh,
that the constables are going through.
it was wretched. I'm going to tell you, there was nothing.
Nothing good about
There
it.
really was nothing fun about it. And you got it's so hard to see anything
Yeah.
that you get glimpses of the
Yeah,
cool
yeah.
uniform here. In my opinion, it's a skip.
It's a skip. I
It's
agree.
a skip.
Okay. So number 5.
I don't know.
I got pubs.
No,
When
that's
you're
number. I think that's number 1.
Really?
I'll tell you why I think it's number 1. Because if you go to London and you're not a history buff and you just want to experience the city, that's the way you
You're
experience
going to go
that
to
city.
pubs and shows. Yeah, I know.
It should be number 1 because more people eat than go to the history museums.
Okay. I'll take your word for it.
And number 2 should be riding the bus. No, really. Because it's just an amazing thing to do. And you get to see all
But
the
you're going
sights.
to ride the bus to go to a pub.
Maybe, but that doesn't count.
Well, let's put it this way. When you're in London, you should be using public transportation.
well,
you don't really
You're
have
not
a
going to
choice.
drive.
Do not drive to London. Do not drive
and
in
the
London.
subway's fun. The tube is also good.
Yeah,
There's lots of cool things about the tube.
there is. But if you can get there by bus, bus is the way to go.
I think so too.
Cheap, and it gets you everywhere. So we just give up. We're not gonna-
I don't know. It's hard. It's
Mm.
hard.
Number 1. You're going to say number 1, food, pubs
Food.
and food.
Pub life.
Okay. Number 2, riding the double deckers. And I agree with both of them. I just don't know that that's the best place for them. Number 3,
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10
British
is
Museum.
the history.
number 4, Tower of London, and number 5,
Where's Harry Potter?
Churchill War Rooms. How about riding
Number
the double
6?
decker to the Harry Potter sites?
No. Number 6 is Harry Potter.
Number 6, Harry Potter. So yeah, we're basically giving up. Number 7 is the Postal Museum.
Yeah, for sure. Especially if you have kids.
Number 8,
I would move it up on the list if I have kids.
Yeah,
if
for
I
sure.
if you go to London with children, anywhere aged, I would say 2 to what? 10?
10, 11,
Do not miss the Postal Museum.
for sure.
I mean, it's good for all ages, but those younger kids, there's rarely something this good for them. This is
Number
that good.
9, come on, let's think of 2 more things.
What do you have?
And then we'll have 10, top 10. I got number 1, pubs and the food, of course.
Well, do shows then.
I did.
And Harry Potter.
I did riding double deckers for number 2. Number 3 is the British Museum. Number 4 is the Tower of London. Number 5 is the Churchill War Rooms. Number 6 is the Harry Potter sites. Number 7 is the Postal Museum. Number 8 are going to a show. Number 9, how about Westminster Abbey? And doing can you still do the rubbings at
No.
Westminster Abbey?
Well, you can't on fake rubbings. They're
Yeah,
fake
you can't
nowadays.
do it on
not
there.
like the old days.
It's probably incredibly bad for those.
Yes, I think it probably is.
And number 10,
Well-
you know, one of the things I really love doing was
Going
taking.
out to the observatory.
Yeah. Okay.
Greenwich.
In fact, the Greenwich Observatory almost made my list. So let's put that on there. The Greenwich Observatory is an amazing place.
Is that what you were going to say, though?
No, I was going to say taking a water taxi on the Thames.
Oh,
But that kind of
that goes
goes
with
with
the
riding the
buses.
double decker, riding the public transportation
yeah. On an Oyster card.
on an Oyster card.
So we gave up. It's not a top 5.
It's a top
it's
10.
a top 10. And even that is just ridiculous because London is amazing.
Yeah.
We go to London at least once a year, just to London. And when we leave, we just left.
And we're like,
And I'm already
we got to
like,
do this. We
I
gotta
didn't
that.
do this, and I didn't do this, and I didn't do this, and now I need to go back again. I always have a plan for the next time I'm going. We didn't even mention the shopping, like Harrods and
Oh,
Fortnum's
yeah.
and Mason and the Borough Market and all that kind of stuff. There's another. That's 12. I don't know.
No.
We can
We're
go
sticking
on
at 10.
and on and on.
We shouldn't even done 10.
We shouldn't have. This is a cheat, and we're still calling out the top 10, top
And we
5. 'cause
apologize for it. But if you go to London, and when you go to London, you'll find out exactly what we mean. If you've already been, you know what we're going through.
Exactly.
But go to
Alrighty.
London.
Cheerio.
All right. Thanks for listening to this episode of Streets and Eats. If you liked what you heard, please show us some love, hit the like button, and leave us a review. Maybe even subscribe so you don't miss any future podcasts. Also, we'd love it if you joined us on our Facebook private group, Streets and Eats, where we just have an ongoing conversation about all things travel. Ciao for now.